force. If it doesn't work, you're just not using enough. You're listening to SOFREP Radio. Special operations military news and straight talk with the guys in the community.
Hey, what's going on? This is Rad, your host for SOFREP Radio, and I have a super cool guest today. But before I introduce you to her, I want to tell you about our merch store. So you can go to sofrep.com/merch and go check out our branded items from SOFREP. All the guys and gals in the special operations community picking out all this cool stuff, branding it with SOFREP, and you guys tag us on the internet. We love that. So keep that up. And also, I want to talk about our book club. That's sofrep.com/book-club. That's book-club. Go check it out. There's always new books being added into our library for you to enjoy, and just be a reader, okay? Go out there, read a book, open your mind, and explore what's in here already. It's all in your head, so go read a book. Now, this next guest it's kind of like a fun, sad story to talk about, okay? Because it happened 50-something years ago, but it's still very fresh to my guest, Abigail Boretto, who it goes by Abby. And so, welcome to our show, Abby.
Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you.
And not to just jump the gun, but I mean, it happened about 50 years ago, what we're going to talk about, and that is the ring in the mountain, the story of your father and his I don't want to call it a training accident, but please go ahead and go into a little bit more detail about what we're going to talk about.
Okay, well, at the core of this is a story about a daughter meeting her father for the first time posthumously through the lens of those who knew him. So back in 1972, during a NATO training mission, my father's helicopter crashed along with 4 other Marines, and they all tragically died that day. And my father was a graduate of the United States Naval Academy, and he was wearing his ring that day, and it was a piece that was not recovered, and really unbeknownst to us. That ring sat up on the mountain in Norway, 200 miles within the Arctic Circle, for 22 years before a hunter found it and returned the ring back to me.
Hans is his name, right? The hunter was a doctor named Hans. I don't want to butcher his last name, so I'm just going to call him Hans.
Okay, that's fine. It's Krogstad. It's not too hard once you know it.
Krogstad, yes, Dr. Krogstad. Dr. Hans
Yes.
Krogstad, out on a hunt in the mountains, says, I'm going to go 200 miles into the Arctic today.
Well, he does live in the region, so he went across by ferry to the island of Brutia, where he was hunting grouse that fall afternoon. All those years ago, 1993.
And here he is, probably looking, and just moving around, looking for his, his prey, his hunt. And then he probably saw something just reach out to him and say, "Come to me, like the precious."
Yeah,
he probably had
it,
just.
it really did. It happened that way. So my father's ring has a star sapphire, and it was glistening in the sun, and that's what caught Hans's eye. You can't believe it. It was wedged between 2 rocks on this incredibly rocky terrain. It really looks like the moon up there. Well, what I would imagine the moon to look like.
Right.
And it's miraculous that he found this. I mean, 22 years after Norwegian winters.
Right.
Very, yeah.
So did they ever? So when the crash happened, did you find out at all if they were like on the scene as soon as it happened, or was this delayed by weather, or do you know what the actual cause, the black box situation of that crash? Can you explain to us a little bit, maybe from your point of view, from a daughter?
Sure. Well, he did die when I was 15 months old, and I did grow up not knowing too much about him. And honestly, I think that was really during a time where military didn't necessarily tell you the whole story. And so I'm not sure that, my mother knew or any of my extended family knew what really happened. But over the last 3 years of investigating, we have figured out what happened. And it was really due to weather. The fog rolls into this mountain like, it is actually unbelievable how quickly the weather can change in this region. So they were going up onto the mountain to do some recon of some other Marines, and the fog rolled in, and I think they couldn't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in some really dense fog where it just came out of nowhere because, you know, just to kind of relate, in the mountains here in Utah, my wife and I are always going up into the mountains to go snowboarding. And so we're always driving into the weather purposefully. And then one day it was just like, all of a sudden this cloud hit us and we were just seeing fine in front of us. And it was just like, I almost came to a complete stop. I was like, I can't even see anything. I know I'm on the road. I know that their car was like 25 feet in front of me, but I couldn't see anything anywhere. So I can only imagine if you're on a helicopter, right? And you're this great pilot doing your gig, and all of a sudden it just comes out of anywhere. You're like, well, I got to kind of slow down and get my own bearings. And it's like, it's just altitude, wind, lift, drag, fog.
That's right.
Unhospitable terrain, you know, boy, you know, and sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's you know, it's interesting because I never felt like I was missing out, I guess, growing up. I always knew there was a hole, or I was different, but it really isn't until the last 3 years that my dad has been by my side the whole time.
Yeah.
And I for sure feel it tremendously now. But I think I believe I felt it back then too.
Yeah, his arms around you. Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
I don't want to say I was a danger teenager, but you know.
He was always with you, Abby. He was always there, Abby.
No doubt, no doubt. And now I have that understanding so much more now.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. It's actually, it's a tremendous feeling to know that I feel covered.
Well, let's see if I can give his colleagues that passed away with him some respect and say their names correctly. Okay, I'm going to give a shout out to those that passed with him right here. So we have Gerald Merklinger, First Lieutenant HML-167. We had Henry N. Pilger. Is that right?
Yeah, you did it good.
Okay, First Lieutenant HML-167, also AKA Captain Easy at his Annapolis class, right? We were kind of like talking. Yeah. Okay, I learned that about him. That's very cool, right? PM Rodriguez, Lance Corporal, HML-167. James Skinner, James L. Skinner, maybe, Lieutenant Colonel. He was in Mass-1. And then you had Raymond W. Reiser, Captain, and he was also part of Mass-1. And all of them perished that night on that mountainside. And that was what night? September 23rd, 1972 is when that took place. I was not even thought about. My dad and mom, I was in 77. That's when I came around.
All right.
Yeah, you know, just to kind of put it out there. So just like, you know. And then it's 5 Marines that perished. There's a docuseries, right? Is that going on right now? What's going on? Is there a movie, a book? Can you tell me a little bit more about what we're going to find out about this ring?
Sure. So there is a documentary out about the discovery of this ring, me meeting Hans for the first time to thank him, me visiting the crash site, me honoring not just my father, but the 4 other fallen Marines who died along him that day, and meeting some of his childhood friends, family. I was able to find the next of kin of the 4 other fallen Marines, so they are part of this film. My friend Rocky Shaw, who was a Marine, he tracked me down. He was on this mission with me. I was not on the mission, just so you know.
I got you. No, it's here. You did go there. Yes, we're going to let that slide. That's fine.
Yeah, we're going to let it go. But Rocky was instrumental in helping me understand what Operation Strong Express was. the time period, and he was also instrumental in helping me find the next of kin for the fallen Marines. Epic Marine.
What's strong? What was that? Strong Press? What is that?
It was called Operation Strong Express. It was NATO's largest mission still to date. 65,000 service members from all over the world who participate in NATO were converged on this area in Norway.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was their winter exercise.
Yeah, it was a joint exercise. So this was like a total joint exercise, multiple nation involved. They were doing their gig, they were pulling their routines, and the fog rolled in, and just that's what happens.
That's right. Unfortunately, this crash happened in the last moments of this operation. It was cleanup time. The operation was over.
Sure.
They were, like I said, going back up on the mountain, doing some recon of the men that were up there. That was why the MASS 1 Marines were on the flight. They were their group. And so it's just really unfortunate in those last moments. You know,
Yeah, just
they were
picking them up.
shipping out the next day.
Yeah, they're just like doing pickup and cleanup and last minute detail and just, you know, making sure, and probably giving, it seems like the colonel and the captain maybe overview of whatever there might have been, you know, as they were probably, were they the passengers? Riser was a passenger. Lieutenant Colonel James Skinner was probably also a passenger, because they're from MASS-1, right? So they're probably like, hey, and then so your father was pilot, correct?
He was co-pilot.
Co-pilot, and Gerald Merklinger was also pilot?
Pilot in command, yeah.
Pilot in command. And Rodriguez, I'm sure, was going to be crew chief, or, you know, the guy that's like, no, you're too close to the mountain. You know, he was watching, you know. So if these guys all with their keen sense, right? Bam.
Yeah.
Was there recovery of the remains? Was that something, you know, that was able to be done? Was there left?
Yeah.
You know?
So the big problem that day was the bigger helicopters were going up there, the CH-53s, but they couldn't land.
Yeah.
So they brought up the Huey, which was really new to the fleet then. It really just came out in 1972. So this was a new helicopter in addition to this big event, right?
Yes.
And so, anyway, there's a lot of radio chatter. I've been able to talk to some of the other pilots, CH-53 pilots, and they said we couldn't land. And so they fired up this bird and they got it up there. And that's when the fog and the wind just picked up tremendously. So the helicopter crashed in early evening, 7 o'clock. They were unable to be recovered until the following morning.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's kind of that was the peril right there. It's just exposure, mountain, you know, if there was any chance, it was just not they were out of it already, probably knocked out or something. I'm so sorry. Lost their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the real nature of the business of being in the military, right? We go into a room and raise our hand and give an oath to say, hey, cash a check up to us, our whole entire body and soul. And you know how many times we hear it's been a training accident, or, you know, it was just a mishap, you know, and things like that. Those things happen. You know, you get guys that go into training and still, like, they go through these Navy SEAL trainings and they drowned in the pool just trying to qualify. You know, they're just pushing themselves so hard. So it's not unexpected that this could happen to somebody in those positions. They all probably have it in the back of their mind. We're playing with fire all the time, flying, and, you know, but I'm glad that there was some closure to be able to be brought to your family, and, you know, and to Rodriguez's family and to everybody's families here, with, you know, this ring just shining in the rock. And all of a sudden, you know, everything that's kind of like just put behind you. Oh, you have it.
Here it is here. Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, huh? It's like an eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How beautiful.
And this is exactly how it was returned to me. I mean, 22 years in the Norwegian element.
Oh, yeah, you're wearing it on a necklace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dad's fingers, just a little big.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit larger. myself petite, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Me too. Me too. I'm 6'5", 270, and yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm just a little thing.
Petite on the giant side.
Thank you, thank you. Now, also, from one military brat to another, this is my father's ring right here. He was a Green Beret. It wasn't as a tragic of a situation as he passed. He was kind of like after the military and hearts, but my mom gave this to me because he died like on my birthday. And so like my birthday present was this ring from my mom. And since 2013, I've always worn it on my right hand. And I just wanted to let you know that a ring means so freaking much. This right here, because my daughters, my son, they're all like, "Can we see your ring, Dad?" And they're like, "Yeah." "Oh, it goes on our thumb," you know. And they're like putting it on them, and I'm just like, "Yeah, put the ring on, put it on, put the precious."
I have to say, it's pretty magical. I think rings carry an energy.
Yes.
It's symbolic. There's a circle. It never ends. There's no other way for me to explain the magic of this being returned after all of that time. I mean, as you can imagine, this was a tragic event. I mean, an explosion.
Yes.
You know, these men were not full body. So for this to, you know, have flown away, and I can only say it was a spiritual and ghostly maneuver of my father.
Yes.
That someday it would be found, returned, and then he could tell the story.
And yeah, crazy. That's wild.
And
How it got to where it was at.
My story.
Yeah.
But now it's our story. Because these other 4 Marines, you know, I was able to find their families, like I've said, and we share something that not many people can relate to or understand. So I feel like 200 miles within the Arctic Circle, these men lived and died together in this short period of time, and then sadly forgotten.
Yeah, it sounds like a documentary obviously would happen, you know, and going up the mountain for you with a crew. I mean, what was that hike like? Was it like, did they crash towards the peak? Was it like at the middle of the saddle of the mountain? Was it like what was that hump to get up the hill like for you to realize where they were laid to rest, basically?
Yeah, I got to tell you, the hike was a big deal.
Big deal.
It's 2,300 vertical feet, you know, sea level, straight up, which altitude-wise isn't very high. Comparison to say places in Utah, where I'm sure where you ski and things like that.
Yes.
But when you're climbing this and it's vertical feet, it takes 3.5 hours. You go through 4 different types of vegetation. When you get to the top and the vegetation is gone, these rocks are the size of Volkswagens. So, you know, it's a terrain that you really got to pay attention to. You've got to watch your footing. So it was a tremendous feeling to get to the top up there.
When you got to the crash site, right, when you personally got there and you start to like become your own detective, like I'd just be looking around saying, okay, here's the mountain, right? And here's the crash site somewhere towards the top. Was it almost to the top? Were they almost over it? Were they at altitude? Is that what made you think like it came fog? Because what made them hit that mountain? Were they just like 100 yards off the peak?
It's hard to say. I do have a good understanding of where the Marines were stationed that they were going to pick up. I do have an understanding of that. So now standing in that space, it had to have been a couple hundred. I mean, there's a lot of peaks and valleys within this island. And the backside of this island is sheer. And then there's a valley, and then it goes up again. So, you know, like I said, the fog just rolls in.
Yep, caught them.
And there's the fog and the wind.
Yeah.
So there's no barrier there, right? It's not like the trees were cut in the wind or anything. There's nothing up there. So, you know, you get scooped. Helicopters, and I'm sure you understand, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners understand, but it's a volatile machine.
Mm-hmm.
They're delicate, and so many things can go wrong.
They can be lifted with wind. Yes, the wind can
And
blow.
that's
Yes.
really
What you think?
really what happened into the fog,
Yeah.
because they got into the fog and they said, "We got to turn around," and then the wind lifted, and that's where
And to
tragic.
put it in perspective, there's a reason why in LA right now there's a lot of fires happening as we're filming this podcast, and a lot of air crews are grounded because of the winds. They are like this. The winds will just blow us away as well. So it's like, if you think just for a second, you're flying in Norway, desolate mountain ranges, and the fog rolls in. Wow, yeah, there's only so much that you can do, and then now they did.
It can change in 5 minutes.
Oh, just like that. Just like I said, I was driving up the mountain and the fog hit us out of nowhere. Just Mother Nature.
Yeah.
She seems to be all over the place.
She's everywhere.
I was like, she seems to be everywhere.
Mother Nature.
Yes.
You don't really want to mess with her. She's a phenomenon, but she can be,
Oh, she could wreak havoc, obviously, right? I mean, geez. Wow.
Yeah.
I just can't, think about, like, there's a situation out here in Utah where there's Antelope Island, and it's in the Great Salt Lake. In early 90s, there was a Black Hawk that went down off just a training mission, like from Hill Air Force Base. It was like 4 miles away from the tarmac. Whatever the case is, they got too low and crashed. I mean, anything can take out. That's a modern Black Hawk.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, like I said, it's a sex machine, but it's a tricky one.
Yes.
And
it was a Huey.
They're super cool. Yeah, it's a Huey. Mm-hmm.
2 blades on the top. Okay. God, dude, that's so wild. Now you and Hans, and Hans is still with us today, right? Hans is still around.
He sure is. Yep, he sure is.
And you guys have a great relationship, and just to become best of Facebook friends.
Well, I don't even actually know if he's on Facebook, to be honest. But I will tell you that this journey, the Norwegian people and the journey that took place, these people are no longer friends. I mean, they really are family to me.
Yeah.
I've gone back every year since I filmed the documentary. I brought the documentary there first to show. I have a lot of admiration and a lot of loyalty to these folks. I say it in my film, but Hans changed my life, and it took time. The time was needed. I was not mature enough at 23 years old to probably have handled the magnitude, one, of this story, but also two, of filming a documentary. I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Now, well, I see that, your dad didn't only just leave you behind. He also left, probably brothers and sisters, and
That's right.
and parents, who had to deal with and cope with their son and, having been lost. And so that's a tragic thing. But there's got to be, how was he in Annapolis? What was your thoughts of him in school? Did he just seem to glean in a certain class, like, physics or math? Was he just like excelling all the time?
He was an exceller for sure. I think from a very young age he knew his path, and he made it happen. He was a mathematics major, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Something I did not inherit.
A little bit, maybe. No.
Me and numbers are not friends.
But
I got his personality.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah. Math's not the easiest thing, and this is the 60s, 70s that he's a young man thinking, going to college. So high school, he was probably just doing really well, excelling in high school, and he's like, I'm gonna go to Annapolis.
Yeah, he was the class president.
Okay.
He was involved in every civic, community, volunteer, activism.
Popular.
Back in those times, very popular.
Yep.
The ladies loved him.
Sure.
Yeah, good-looking guy.
Obviously, you're here.
And I'm here. Yep, scooped up my mother.
Yes.
Years ago. What major accomplishments in 24 years of his life?
Yeah, 24 years, huh?
24 years old, and
You're probably his greatest. I'm sure of that. I'm sure he thought 100%, 1,000,000% about his greatest accomplishment with you. I bet a bajillion, I bet all the money that in the entire galaxy on that.
well, thank you.
Yes.
That's so nice to say, Brad.
Yes. Because that's how I feel about my daughters and my son. It's like no matter what you do, I've got them to hopefully make me rich.
Yeah. Take care of it anyway, because I'm blowing through the money really
Come
fast.
on, I'm bad at math. Come on, kids, get your college done.
Balance a checkbook. I don't know that.
What's a checkbook? Overdraft fees, that's a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing. I know.
That's a thing, let me tell you, I know. We were all 19 years old with a bank account that had checks at that time. I was like, huh? So the money's still in there, right?
Oh, you mean I write on this thing and the money's taken out?
The money's not taken out yet. I've written 3 checks today. It's still in the bank. You know, it's like 2 weeks later, it's still in the bank. I'm like, hey, you know, that $300 goes a long way.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh. No, your dad would be very, very happy with you, and he would want his story to be told about him and his homies that were on that ship, you know, that aircraft, you know, that helicopter.
Yeah. Again, I do believe the ring was left behind. I firmly believe he probably did that on purpose.
Yes.
So that at some time these men's stories and their legacies come back to life.
That's good.
Because quite honestly, for 50 years, they sat up there unattended.
And there might still be some of them up there that have not been recovered. That is just their permanent, you know, burial site for them. You know, in all respect, you know, if you said the crash happened how it did, and they tried to probably gather everything they could, but if the ring went somewhere, I'm sure there was other, you know, like a digit or two here and there too. Not to check.
I mean, it's quite possible.
You know, and so that's kind of cool in a weird, morbid way that a piece of them is still there to represent it, you know, and the solemn rock that has the plaque on it. I took a peek at your documentary, you know, and that area right there. It just is. The gentleman on the microphone is probably the gentleman you were mentioning, Rocky, right? Is that who it was? Okay, he was probably talking. Was that him in the flight jacket?
Oh, no, that's another Marine who did serve in HMLA 167.
I knew the guys.
Yep, and so he was the president of the alumni. So when my husband and I started to really investigate this, he was a real champion of this story. And I'll tell you, within the HMLA organization, this has been a mystery to them. So again, it's just an interesting chain of events that this happened. We got in touch with them. HMLA got involved. Slick is his name.
Slick.
Slick Case, yes. He got on an airplane, did not ever meet me, and met me in Norway to represent the United States Marine Corps. Super stand-up guy.
When you go and watch that trailer for the documentary and you listen to him say, you know, just being in your presence is enough here to know the presence kind of thing. I felt that from him when he says that, you know, you guys are there. It's like just something about being there. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about him talking about just the presence and being around you guys. You know, he probably misses them too. You know, it's like, you know, in that aspect, if he's, you know, he knows these names, he knows these traits of these guys, and yeah, that's really cool of him to show up and just be there and meet you. That seems like a Marine right there.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need?
I have to say, you know, their phrase, no man left behind, I feel I can attest to that.
And always faithful.
And always faithful. They really have enveloped me as part of the crew. They invite me to everything.
Yes.
I'm welcome. It's a tremendous feeling to know that after all these years that I am welcome and I am part of the Marine family. Just because my father isn't here doesn't mean anything.
100%. 100%. You are 100%. I say the same thing, you know. The son of the SF, dad was Green Beret. You're the daughter of the Marines. You're the daughter of a Marine. And, you know, boy, was that his first? So, like, let me ask you something about your dad. What do you know about him prior to that? Did he go to Vietnam?
No, he didn't. In fact, it's interesting you asked that because my mother apparently was ecstatic that he was put on this
Oh,
mission.
yeah.
Because
It's like Norway.
Nobody dies in NATO missions. Nobody dies in training, right? I mean, that's really the mentality. Everybody was dying during Vietnam.
Oh, your sweet mom. Yes.
You know, you knew somebody.
Yeah.
You knew 10 people who had lost somebody. So, what a tragic chain of events for her.
Especially as a helicopter pilot, right? Because those guys are getting shot at coming into landings in these LZs, these landing zones that are all hot and like peppered with enemy fire coming at them, right? And so, I mean, she's like, okay, he's just going to go fly a training. That's fine. It's not Vietnam.
Yeah.
And, he knows what he's doing. He's a math whiz. He's super cute.
That's right.
He'll be fine.
I'm sure she said that.
Well, you know, let's just say something, all right? It's 2025, and if I look at a picture of your father right now, he is a handsome gentleman in his suit right here with his smile, so dapper, and his hairline. And I encourage everyone to go and check out, you know, go look up Henry N. Pilger, First Lieutenant, and you'll see kind of what you can find out about him and read. And he is. I'm looking at his picture right now. I'm looking at you, and you might have his head. Like his skull, okay?
I think so. I got the hairline.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna
I got the eyebrows.
Yeah, I'll say it as I see it. I'm cool. I'm open and honest. I swear. No, it's a beautiful thing, right? And so,
thank you.
yes.
Yeah, we have the same teeth as well.
Yeah. See, so and that's very awesome. So he's definitely all around you. Yeah, 100%. You're him. He's like, if I can leave anything on this earth of me, it's you. So there you are. Yeah.
Here I am.
Yes. So you gotta own it, and you gotta be the best you can, and you gotta be the best steward with what you have to steward in your life for him and your family's sake, and you're doing it. And so, is this gonna be so forgive me if I'm oblivious to this because I got the trailer, right? Is the documentary, how is the documentary long? Where can we find that?
So the documentary is not public yet.
Okay.
I am searching for distribution. I have found one platform that is going to be showing it, so it should be out about April.
Okay.
I do share the film with Marines freely. I'm happy to share the film. That has been a tremendous honor for me because mostly it's men, and it's mostly men in the age group of Vietnam, if you will.
Yeah.
Goes to a lot of alumni kind of groups. And I am so honored with the letters they write me after watching the film. They certainly talk about how proud they are of me. I mean, they don't know me, but right, their father ages, and they have children of their own, and so they talk about that, and then they talk about their experience during their service. So, you know, I'm really honored to receive those types of letters from them. It's relatable, you know. I'm now in my 50s. So now I can also speak to the daughter, but I can also speak as almost the widow figure.
Sure.
I understand sort of both sides of it now. And I understand my mother a lot more.
Yes, I bet you do.
Yeah. You know, back then, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, you know, PTSD was not a phrase or a mental issue.
It was called shell shock.
Right?
Shell shock is what we called it.
Shell shock. I mean, like, which is pretty crazy, though.
Yeah, it's what it was called. That's what it was.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, you didn't talk about it. You didn't work through those things. You didn't seek help necessarily. You know, you zipped your lips, you smiled and waved, and kept on going. It's just the way it was. So now I'm understanding who she was. I mean, she has also passed on, but I understand who she was
Did
and
she
why she
remarry?
was the way she was.
Did she remarry?
remarry.
She did remarry.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that was nice of him to understand that she came along with a lost love.
Yeah.
You know, that will never be a whole heart, but as much she can to him. And, you know,
Yeah.
I can only imagine if I had lost my love at such a young age with a family, you know, and now she had to be mom and dad and take care of daughter.
I mean, she's 23 years old, a
Yeah.
widow with a baby. I mean, what is that? That is shell shock.
It's so sad. I'm so sad. I mean, I love it. I love her. I love you. I think you're great. It's just a sad situation for a young 23-year-old Marine wife.
It sure is.
To be holding her 15-month-old saying, "Where's my Marine?" But other wives that are in her same position at the same ages, that was going on a lot in the 70s and the 60s, you know, with Vietnam happening. And a tragic...
You know, Jerry Merklinger
Yes.
Also was married and had a daughter, and we're the same age. She's just a couple months older than I am, and so it was a fast sisterhood for us.
It's kind of like her ring too. It's like they all can just they probably have all, if anybody from the families you reach out to, they're just like, thank you, you know, for.
Well, the ring is the reason why.
Yes.
So I'm at the helm of the story, as I like to say. I'm very honored to be at the helm of the story, but it's no longer just my story; it's our story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm here to share that, and I'm proud to be sharing it that way.
Well, we're happy to immortalize it here. Yeah, we're happy to bring it to light. Yes, and my listeners are awesome. And you know, I get letters all the time from them saying, "Rad, you had a great guest on. It was really this or going this way." And they give me feedback. I have generals that type to me, "Rad, I'm over here I just loved your show." And I'm just like, "Oh, thank you, sir, dude, sir. It's been a minute."
Listen, you know? I will tell you, like, right from the Commandant down, I've really had the support. NATO is aware of this story. The Marines came out of Stuttgart, Germany. They sent a film team. There's 2 small shorts that the Marines have done about this story. It really is an amazing story that really gives hope.
Yeah, it's kind of healing.
People. It's never too late.
Yeah.
And like I said, finding the next of kin also has been probably one of my greatest honors. The people that have come together is the best part of the story, other than meeting my father.
Yes.
If that makes sense. I mean, I just, people like Slick, like Rocky, all the other families. It almost doesn't have the words in my heart.
And let me say those names again. That's Gerald Merklinger, Henry N. Pilger, P.M. Rodriguez, James Skinner, and Raymond W. Reiser. I just want to say that right. Those were the souls on board of that aircraft, of that Huey that perished on that day. And we just want to say their names one more time, you know, just to make sure that it's in this show.
Yeah,
simple as that.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Like I said, all of our story.
You know, I think you've been a fascinating guest on the show, and we've really captured kind of the essence of what we wanted to put out there. And I just think that somebody should pick it up and take it to distribution, and we should be able to watch us on, you know, just any of these streaming platforms where, you know, there's proceeds that can help benefit anything to do with the associations you want to be tied with, right? That's the goal, to help bring closure to other situations that can use the same kind of, you know, documentary, the filming. It's just, I can feel it already from you. You're just like, you know, sure, distribution, send it out there. Yes.
It's so important. Everybody's. And my ultimate goal here is obviously to bring it to motion picture, but that all 5 men are represented. They all had a story. They all had a life prior to meeting on the ship that day on the tarmac and sort of taking off.
There's a lot of last names right there. That's a lot of last names. It's a lot of different last names, a lot of different places those people come from. A lot of like, we didn't know each other, but we can fight together as one team on that aircraft.
That's right.
And so now they formed that union to become, you know, I love to say it's U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army, U.S. Marines, U.S. Navy. The U.S. brings it together, right? It doesn't matter anything else. It's the U.S. first. And so these guys
And
here
it doesn't matter what you serve in.
Nope.
If you serve, you are writing that check.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
Take it. Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people forget about what these men and women are doing out there, and they are fighting for our freedoms, and we do take it for granted. So that's another awareness I think, we need to bring into the fold here.
Yeah, and we do take it for granted as our freedoms as U.S. citizens of this great nation that we live in, and they want us to, because that's the freedom that they want us to have. They want us to take advantage of being our own bosses and praying to who we want to pray, and just freedom of choice of who we want to be and everything out there. And so, we're going to live up to that to them, right? We should just keep it U.S. people.
That's right.
That is right. Us. Yeah, make check, payable too. Overdraft fees.
Exactly.
So distribution, okay, if you're out there and you happen to have a channel into a distribution, or somebody in the industry that could help Abby get that put into production or out there, then feel free to reach out either to me or through Instagram. Do you have an Instagram where someone can reach you, or any type of social media?
I do. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I am on LinkedIn under my name, Abby Boretto.
Okay, so LinkedIn would be a good one. Yeah, for sure.
LinkedIn is a great one, of course. And then Instagram, always AbFab.
AbFab. All right, well, don't be surprised if you see Rad Rockin' following you, okay?
All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I think that I'm just going to say thank you for being on the show today, and I hope you enjoy the fireplace and the conversation that we've had this afternoon, discussing your father and the proud feats that he accomplished, and his men that stood beside him as they did their missions, unwaveringly. I just want to say the best, stoically, just with the most fortitude, and just like, we got this, and and much love to you and your family on this day. So, and to all the other families that lost their families. Yes, for sure.
Yes. Thanks so much.
Yes, no problem. Now, with that said, on behalf of myself and Brandon Webb, who owns the company, I got to shout him out, and my producer Callum out of London, and of course me for being me. Okay, I want to say thank you for listening and enjoying our shows and our podcasts. And if you have a guest, or you feel like you should be a guest, it's that easy to reach out to us, and we'll go from there. Okay, so again, on behalf of Abigail Boretto, aka Abby, and myself, Rad, I say peace.
You've been listening to SOFREP Radio.